Attention Sleepless Knights. Thank you for consuming this OSI 74 product broadcast, live from the Black Knight satellite. For optimum performance and safety, your host, Mr. Lobo, asks that you please listen to these instructions carefully. When in a hospital or other healthcare facility, observe the restrictions on the use of electronic devices. Switch off before boarding an aircraft to prevent interference with communications systems. Do not operate this device in the presence of flammable gases or fumes, chemical plants, or where blasting operations are in progress. Always listen hands-free while driving a vehicle. Failure to observe these instructions may lead to immediate termination. It's time now for the show to begin. Thank you. Have a very pleasant evening.
You're not dreaming. You're listening with your ears to the Sleepless Knights podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Lobo, and I am here on terra firma, but out in the forest reaches of outer space are your friend and mine, Paul Sanders of Bestow TV. Our producer has been having many adventures, many, I would say misadventures more than adventures. But anyway, Paul, can you hear me? Where are you at now?
Yeah, I'm still floating around in space. I just moments ago, I just got back from a supply run. I went to Asteroid M. I went to Magnetomart.
Footnote. Bonus points to listeners who get the reference. Comment below.
And yeah. I guess the whole chronic diarrhea thing has spread up here as well. Like, couldn't you keep that to yourself? Why couldn't that just been an Earth thing?
You're telling me that we're dealing with an intergalactic pandemic now?
It's the intergalactic shits, I guess.
Wow, that's amazing. You know, they say it goes downhill, but it also goes into space, apparently.
In space, nobody can hear you squirt, I guess.
Oh, boy, please, Paul. Seriously.
The store has signs all over that you have to stay 6 feet apart. Maybe you know this better than me. Is that the splash zone for chronic diarrhea? Because if it is, I don't want to mean to brag, but I'm a record breaker, and I could probably beat that 6 foot splash zone.
If given the chance. I'll just take your word for that, Paul. But I think that 6 feet is a courtesy minimum. I suppose it varies from person to person how far they think their chronic diarrhea may splash. I don't know why we're talking about this. Just continue with what you were saying.
So yeah, I see that now they make you wear face masks because I guess they don't want the chronic diarrhea to enter those orifices, which makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I had to go out to the old life pod and root around in my med kit to find one. And, you know, I go in there and it's just like, you know, they have these signs. You can't come into the store, but people are in all various states. They either not wearing a mask, or they have a mask pulled down over their nose. They have a mask under their chin, or they have it up over their forehead, or they have wearing it across the top of their head like a mohawk.
I've seen that too.
You know, and it's just really weird. It's not even just the shoppers. It's like the employees are doing it as well. I mean, I had to pick up medication, and you think that the pharmacist would at least, you know, want to have that up over their nose and not, you know, be breathing those particles onto the pills that I have to put in my mouth, you know. Just kind of odd, you know. Is that the same there, or is that just a localization thing?
No, it's something that is happening. You know, I feel like you know, I mean, even before there was a pandemic, I mean, any establishment has the right to refuse service if they're not wearing a shirt or shoes. And I think that you know, in a situation where you've got a serious you know, medical disaster happening like chronic diarrhea, you know, you would assume that those rules would be there in place for everybody's safety, and you know, if you don't like those rules, you could send in somebody else to go get your toilet paper for you, I guess.
It's odd. I never sing to anybody, let alone on a podcast. But I actually wrote a song that I'm willing to sing here, and it's totally original.
Really, you wrote a song, Paul?
Yeah, I wrote a song. It's totally original. Uh-huh. It's not based off of anything at all.
We're sure we're not going to get flagged for this song? It's totally original, you're
Totally
saying.
Original. Never heard before, never sung to anything else. Totally original.
All right. Well, I guess, all right, cut us a slice. Let's hear it.
All right. Me. Piece of shit, piece of shit. Yep, that person's a piece of shit. Wears a mask under their nose. They're a piece of shit, and it shows. Look out. Here comes a piece of shit. Rubber gloves in the parking lot. Piece of shit, they care not. Wears a mask under their chin. Look, that shit has a grin. Look out. Here comes a piece of shit. They clog up the aisles. They don't care about personal space. Some don't wear masks. They're up in my face. Piece of shit, piece of shit. Dumb jackass, piece of shit. They are like a redneck, but they lack the intelligence. Look out, here comes a piece of shit, man. Look out, here comes a piece of shit. So what do you think? Do you think Sleazy would take this to the band?
No, and I think that you should never, ever sing again. I absolutely hated that. Anyway, that long and ranty, crappy detour takes us to the subject matter of the show. A subject that we rarely talk about. It seems like we're avoiding talking about on the program. Wouldn't you say, Paul?
Yeah, poop. Because that's the whole arc. That's where we were going with all it was in this one. Was just the whole poop theme? Isn't that what the whole episode's about?
Now, this is very scatological so far, Paul. This is like, let's talk about something nice, not something that comes out of Uranus.
Well, I mean, asteroid M is near Uranus up here in space.
Music, Paul. Let's talk about
all right,
music.
Okay,
sure. Now we have a lot of strange influences. Music can affect you, much like chronic diarrhea can affect you. It can make you feel things. Creative people, I think, can find a muse in music. Maybe that's the core of that word, right? Music. I don't know where the ick part comes in. Maybe the diarrhea is the ick.
I was going to say the poop part is probably the ick part.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense.
Because I was singing a song about poop, so that's the muse ick.
Yeah, let's not talk about your poop song anymore. I think we should talk about music. And I think we should talk about our influences in particular. Like, I think that you're a music guy. You grew up with a music background. You've been in bands. I am a creative person. I've always had friends who were musicians. I don't know things like math or coordination, so I don't play an instrument per se, but I have collaborated with musicians and even worked on songs. But I don't think when people think of Mr. Lobo, they don't necessarily think of a person who is inspired or influenced by music. But my work is very inspired by particular music and a lot of weird stuff. I listen to a lot of weird eclectic stuff. And actually you do too, Paul. You've got some weird eclectic things in your collection, your music collection.
I don't know what you're talking about. I listen to the same thing everybody else listens to. U2 and Nickelbag, Cardi
yes.
Be Good,
all that stuff,
all that jazz. Yes. Yeah, I heard that album too.
Yes. Well, I know that we both grew up listening to Dr. Demento.
Yes.
Right?
You were correct.
There's a lot. I heard a lot of weird stuff for the first time on Dr. Demento. I heard Devo for the first time, which, of course, famously I'm a big fan of and definitely has influenced me creatively. Weird Al Yankovic.
Mm-hmm.
You like Weird Al a lot, too, don't you?
I do like Weird Al.
Weird Al is interesting. I think the first thing I heard from Weird Al was Another One Rides the Bus, right? And he was that was on Dr. Demento, and which was this parody of the Queen song. We're dealing with novelty songs here, parody songs. The Queen song "Another One Bites the Dust," and he sang "Another One Rides the Bus," and another one's on, and another one's on, another one rides the bus. Hey, he's gonna sit by you. Yeah, and the little fart sounds, right?
Yes.
The hand farts.
Always back to poop.
Always we get there. I don't understand. I'm usually run a classy ship, but not here.
Did you say a classy shit?
Oh boy. It was interesting because it heard it on Dr. Demento, and I thought, wow, this is just some nerd with an accordion being funny. And then I found out that he recorded that song in his bathroom because he liked the acoustics. Mm-hmm. And the fact that like just some guy in his bathroom with an accordion could have a charting song, is pretty amazing.
It's kind of weird is that I took that tip when we used to do voiceovers and stuff like that, I used to put people in the bathroom to record the voiceover work because of that tip that he said, because of the acoustics, and it worked. When you're in a pinch and you don't have a recording booth, you send somebody in the bathroom.
I think that's like the Phil Spector wall of sound in that bathroom. Whereas if you need a quiet room to record in, your car is always a great place to record. I don't know how many voiceovers, movie trailers, things I've recorded in the car, but other podcasts in the car. Yes, we recorded a few of those there. But other musical influences, Barnes and Barnes, they did a song called Fish Heads.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're a big fan of the Mike Patton stuff, right?
Right. Mike Patton, Faith No More, Mr. Bungle.
Dixie really loves Mike Patton stuff also. Of the Mike Patton stuff, I think the stuff that I really vibe with is the Fantomas stuff, which is all movie music kind of inspired stuff.
Right.
But what's interesting about Mike Patton is he's got several different bands that he's been in, or some of the times the band is just him, right?
Right. He has solo albums, yes.
And then they're all totally different genres and usually experimental. Right.
It used to be like Faith No More was a specific sound, and then Mr. Bunghole used to be his different thing. So there was one that was
wait. Did you say Bunghole? No. I think it's Mr. Bungle.
Yeah. No, that's what I said, Mr. Bunghole.
No.
Yeah.
Just skip it.
Anyway, one album was carbon music, one was underwater music, one was like the 60s, 70s surf music. And then he kind of broke away from doing Mr. Bungle, doing Phantomus and all those other ones. It was like Tomahawk is more like Western Indian, Native American rather, type music. So they're all he kind of makes bands that just are inspired by a specific genre of music.
Yeah, and it's kind of inspiring when you see someone who is so out there having such a mainstream success. I think that's kind of inspiring for any artist where they can do something that's really out of the box and exciting. And somehow, they break through. And so do you listen to like Mike Patton and stuff when you're writing or when you're editing?
Some of the Mike Patton stuff I'm inspired by, some of the Weird Al, mostly stuff that's inspirational to me is like instrumental kind of stuff, like soundtracks and stuff, or what's more in line with me to writing. It depends on the mood that I want.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, soundtracks are another thing I really enjoy a lot. Other than, we're talking about eclectic styles. A novelty music is something I listen to. Soundtracks are something I really listen to. Obviously, you've got a favorite movie. And I think that movies and television shows and cartoons introduced me to classical music or orchestra music or jazz music. Those were kind of styles that, they didn't really play on top 40 radio.
Right.
And then suddenly, Star Wars has me as an 8-year-old kid seeking out all this classical music because it reminds me of Star Wars, or, watching Johnny Quest or seeing the Peanuts specials every year on the holidays and wanting to seek out jazz music and hear more music that sounds like that. So soundtracks can be really inspiring in a way because they kind of you don't have to be able to dance to it. You can tell a story with it,
right?
Which is if you're a creative person, that sometimes that kind of music can just set your imagination on fire.
One thing with Dr. Demento is I never really knew the film Rocky Horror Picture Show before Dr. Demento. I knew of the Time Warp. That was always in the top 10. I always knew of that through Dr. Demento. I was always more familiar with Monty Python through Dr. Demento. Like, I never really watched the shows or the movies, but once I became interested in the television shows, it was like, oh, hey, I'm familiar with this bit. I'm familiar with this joke already.
Right. Oh, here's the Lumberjack song.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I may have heard the Lumberjack song first on Dr. Demento, too, before actually seeing it on the PBS station or whatever station showed Monty Python.
The Dead Parrot Routine is what I knew it from.
Dead Parrot
that's not a song, but
yeah. It is amazing because it definitely, that's another thing too, is people who like Dr. Demento, who are kind of gatekeepers, who kind of give you all these samplings of things, and then it kind of gets you started in all these different creative directions because you're hearing stuff, different people, different points of view, different styles. all in one place. You know who would really like to talk about Faith No More and Monty Python?
Does the first name start with an R?
No.
Then no, I don't know who you're talking. Who
Aaron
like
and Dixie.
Oh,
Aaron and
yeah.
Dixie.
Okay.
I was thinking maybe we could talk about that. We could talk to Aaron and Dixie and see if we could get a little, we could have a little variety to these proceedings and maybe get their opinions about music and weird music and inspiring music.
Well, you can go ahead and do that. I'm going to go see what I can do about copyrighting the song because I got to get on top of this before somebody jumps on it because, just singing it on the podcast means that somebody's just going to rip it and throw it up on YouTube, and then the High Council of Communications Consumption is going to copyright strike me for my own song even though I'm the first one that sang it. I got to get on this. I got to
Paul, I've been meaning to talk to you about something because, it just sounds like you're making excuses. I don't mean to bust you right here on the show, but it does seem to me, and I think I need to make this point, that you just disappear every time we have Aaron and Dixie on the show now.
Let me just dodge your question and give you a Band-Aid answer. What I can do is pre-record some of my reactions, and then it'll be like, I'm in the room with you, you just all these interactions is just like it's all natural.
So wait, are you suggesting that I just talked to Aaron and Dixie and then we just drop in canned responses of things you might say in a conversation? I mean, can you give me an example?
Like I could do a or I could do a lol or a yep. Oh wow, you got me there. No, I'm not going to put on pants. You put on pants. Can you get this damn cat off of me? I disagree, but go on. Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know what? I think that would work, actually. Yeah, I think it'll be exactly like you're there. So, all right then. Well, without any further ado, let's go out to our first break, and we'll be back with an exciting conversation about music with Aaron, Dixie, and just random canned responses from Paul.
I disagree, but go on.
Wind up your radio. Westwood One presents the Dr. Demento Show. 2 hours of mad music and crazy comedy from out of the archives and off the wall. Featuring Alan Sherman, Bill Cosby with his new album, Howie Mandel with his, Frank Zappa, Eddie Murphy, The Frantics, and some special treasures from the archives. Some of the very best of the thousands of unreleased tapes we've received over the past 15 years. 40 minutes or so worth of things you'll never find at any record store or most likely hear anywhere else on the radio. We'll start with a few requests, though. This first one for David Bagnara of Bolton, Massachusetts. Monty Python with a song from their movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
We're back with the Sleepless Knights podcast. We're in the Insomniac Lounge, and I am here with the lovely Dixie Delamorto Lobo.
Sure.
And producer of Cinema Insomnia and Grand Dragon of Motion Pictures.
Wow.
Yeah, that does not sound like a good... I don't know that's a title you want to get.
LOL. Aaron Lane. We're talking about music. Paul and I were saying how much music inspires us creatively. And I think a lot of times people who listen think about music, they think about top 40 music or they think about rock and roll. Mm-hmm. The Beatles. I always joke that like when people say, I ask, what's your favorite band? And they say,
the Beatles.
The Beatles. And it's like, okay, they're amazing, but that tells me nothing about you, about your personality.
I feel like studio execs, they're like Steve Miller Band. It's like their go-to.
Isn't it like in Pulp Fiction, isn't it like Elvis or the Beatles?
Yeah. Supposedly that's the thing. You're either an Elvis person or a Beatles person. You can't be both.
I like both.
We were talking about things like stuff we heard on Dr. Demento as kids.
Yeah.
Like Weird Al Yankovic and Barnes and Barnes. Dixie loves
I
Barnes
love
and
Barnes
Barnes.
and Barnes.
That's what she said.
And when did you first hear Barnes and Barnes?
I was compiling I don't know, I guess a mixtape of songs about necrophilia.
That's our Dixie.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Lol.
And I found Cemetery Girls, and I was like, what is this? And then when I realized it was the kid from Twilight Zone, I was completely enamored. So I just absolutely love them.
And you mean Billy Mooney?
Billy Mooney, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And also their music videos with Bill Paxton are
Yeah,
awesome.
I think the Fish Heads video,
Yeah.
Bill Paxton was the art director
Yeah.
on, right?
Oh, wow.
Bill Paxton, if you don't know, is a character actor. He was in Aliens. He was in a lot
Game
of
over,
things.
man.
Yeah.
Game over.
some real pretty shit.
Yep.
And
Yep.
weird girls like him
Oh, yeah.
a lot.
That's what he said.
Devo, I mean, I can't stress how much I'm obsessed with Devo.
Oh, yeah. They're wonderful.
You know, I heard them on Dr. Demento. I saw them on Saturday Night Live. And there was a video I rented. I think it might have been The Truth About De-Evolution, or actually, I think it was The Men Who Make the Music. And it was a bunch of their music videos, all connected with this storyline of them being in this sort of postmodern, futuristic world. And, you know, there's this weird kind of kitschy aesthetic to everything. And they've got their plastic jumpsuits and their 3D glasses. And sometimes they have the energy dome, which, of course, people always say, what, flower pots?
pot.
Or, you know,
Or like
lampshades.
lampshade.
I don't know. They don't really look like either of
No.
those things.
Oh, wow.
But, you know, people always just the closest association. You know, the one-hit wonder, that's the thing that people always say about Devo.
Yeah.
Also.
My argument for the one-hit wonder is that, well, they're not one-hit wonders, but also they're the only band, well, I think one of the only bands that's in heavy metal more than once.
Yeah, they've got two
They've got
songs,
two
in
songs.
the movie Heavy Metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, the animated movie Heavy Metal.
Oh, wow.
They got a lot of music in movies on soundtracks. There's they did 9.5 Weeks and Fright Night.
Yeah.
And a movie called Beer Patrol.
Yep.
And the reason I know this is because not only have I collected every major album and bootleg of Devo and single, other than the Beatles, I think they're the only band that I've tried to get their entire, you know, catalog. A lot of weirdness, but yeah, a lot of movie soundtracks where I only have it because there's just one song on there. Heavy Metal, of course. Working in a Coal Mine is the single from Heavy Metal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and there's the Bill Paxton
Connection. Right? With Martini Ranch,
Yeah.
the new wave band Martini Ranch was kind of partially Devo or somewhat Devo produced.
Yeah, I think they produced it.
So I think Mark Mothersbaugh and maybe Bob Casale or someone in there. I think a couple of Devos are on the team there for Bill Paxton's band, Martini Ranch, which they did a song, How Can the Laboring Man Find Time for Self-Culture?
It's so good. Find the video on YouTube.
Find the video, listen to the music.
Oh, and the guy who directed that music video directed a bunch of Barnes and Barnes music
What, Rocky
videos.
Schneck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's incredible. He's supposed to be at
Rocky
the...
Schneck directed a Devo music video,
Yeah,
too.
he's supposed to be at the thing in Ohio.
Who?
Rocky Schneck.
What thing in Ohio?
Oh, the Devotional.
Yeah.
Which is a yearly, in Akron, Ohio, which is where Devo comes from, which was a very industrial area, which inspired a lot of their aesthetics. Because I think it was, they made rubber and plastic and things like that in factories. And that was the world they grew up in. The Devo album with the golfer on it is actually parodying the box that golf balls came in that were made in Akron, Ohio. Anyway,
Oh, wow.
But yeah, Rocky Schneck is going to be at the Devotional, which is the Devo gathering.
If they're even having it, actually, I don't...
If they're even having, because of the chronic diarrhea.
Diarrhea, yeah. We have that diarrhea issue.
Oh,
So-
Abraham Lincoln, whatever. Bullshit.
Monkeys, beards, we know.
Monkeys' beards.
Monkeys, beards, and explosive diarrhea.
Can you get this damn cat off of me?
So I guess Paul's been listening to a lot of music out in space. Isn't that right, Paul?
No, I'm not going to put on pants. You put on pants.
That was one of Paul's stock responses. So
No, I got that.
yeah. So
I was laughing to whatever he said.
Lol.
But now we've totally like thrown the veil back.
Yes, well, Paul was concerned that it didn't seem like he cared that he was in these segments with you guys, so he created a bunch of stock responses so that
How kind.
he can be here with us.
Thanks, Paul.
And we're not even going to act like he's actually here. We are explaining to the audience that he phoned it in.
Oh, man.
The magic of the show.
Oh, wow, you got me there.
So, movies and music and movies, so a lot of times we will buy an album of a soundtrack, and we listen to a lot of soundtracks too, other than novelty music. We listen to a ton of soundtracks.
I mean, I think most of my record collection before I met Lobo was just soundtracks and Halloween records.
Oh, wow.
Well, and then to give context to the Steve Miller joke earlier, we always talk about any soundtrack where they want a rock band, but they can't actually afford the band they want. They're just like, fuck it, let's stick the Steve Miller band in
Bob
there.
Seger.
Or Bob
man.
Seger,
Yeah.
that's who you're...
Yeah, it's always Bob Seger.
Yeah, Bob Seger.
Yeah. It's always the go-to, like...
And that's what I meant to say.
Originally instead of... Okay.
I mean, Steve Miller Band's in a lot of movies, though.
And I think we've joked about that one,
But
too.
yeah, Bob Seger is really hilarious because it's like you think of the movie American Pop, where it's like
the Bakshi.
The Ralph Bakshi animated movie. This is like the culmination of 4 generations of pop music, right?
Yeah.
And then like it finally comes down to the one guy failed in the jazz era, and then in the 60s era the guy burned out on drugs or whatever. And now it's the 80s or whatever, and it's punk rock, and this guy's selling drugs on the street, and he's got this tune in his head, and he's selling drugs to the band who's recording in the recording studio, and they give him a shot to show him what he's got, right? So he jumps up on the piano and plays Night Moves by Bob Seger.
So he
Terrible.
failed in every era.
And then Mask, the movie with Cher. The movie with Cher, the Rocky Dennis, who was a real person, he had this kind of elephantitis of the head, I guess. And then
I don't think that's quite right.
Is that not right?
No, that is
not
actually
medically
right.
accurate?
Yeah. But that's at least how they put it.
But they made a true story based on a true story kind of movie, and then instead of having him, he listened to AC/DC, I think, in real life.
Black Sabbath, I think,
or maybe
something
Bruce
like that.
Springsteen even. But then they just had Bob Seger in the movie.
Boy.
So when we come back,
Seems like $5,000.
So when we come back, we're going to rail on Bob Seger some more and talk about our favorite musical influences.
Nice.
Influenzas.
Lol.
We come from the retro future. We want you to be nostalgic for what's to come. A new channel and distribution network for smart people with bad taste, featuring content from Church of the Subgenius, Creature Features, Cinema, Insomnia, Sleazy P. Martini and Guar, Troma, Corey Maccabee, horror, sci-fi, Saturday morning cartoons, midnight movies, and assorted trash we love. Add our channel OSI74 to your Roku player or visit OSI74.com. All systems go.
Dixie, you listen to a lot of albums. You've got a lot of rock operas and stuff like that in your collection.
Yeah, I feel like we could fill an entire podcast with talking about rock operas. I mean, Rocky Horror and Phantom of the Paradise are probably 2 of my favorite movies.
Rock
of all
of
time.
Ages of Tom Cruise.
Oh, God.
Oh, God damn it.
You said you weren't going to bring it up.
Septic tank explosion of a rock opera.
I really like Shock Treatment, even though...
Oh, I do too.
I
It grew
think-
on me. I
think
used to hate it.
I think the songs are better in Shock Treatment than Rocky Horror, which it might probably get me set on fire.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Which
there
you're gonna hate
will be
mail.
hate mail.
But let them hate because Shock Treatment is good.
Revenge of the Old Queen.
I don't know that. Revenge of the
It's
Old
the
Queen?
third Rocky Horror that never got produced.
Oh, okay. I see. Was
I'm
it did the Jay Giles band do the music?
Lol.
Bob Seger.
Oh, Bob Seger, of course. They couldn't
Oh, God.
get Tim Curry to come back, so they got Bob Seger in there.
Yeah, Tim Curry was supposed to play 2 roles in it, but they just never got the funding, so they didn't make it.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
What's your favorite soundtrack of all time, Dixie?
Probably Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead's amazing.
Yeah, it's got some of the best artists of the time. I mean, the Cramps, need I say more? I think that Party Time is probably one of the greatest, like, punk rock metal anthems of all time.
I think the Trioxin theme is one of the precursors to synthwave, probably.
Definitely, yeah. I really like the soundtrack to Near Dark also, which also has the Cramps on it.
And Bill Paxton.
Oh,
right?
man. This is a very Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton was in Near Dark. When you draw and paint, do you play music?
Oh, yeah. Constantly. I can't have silence. So I always have music going.
Dixie can never be alone with her own thoughts.
Yeah. It's dangerous.
It's like when I write and I edit and everything, I usually will have some type of music going too. I think that is kind of an artist thing.
What kind of music do you have going, Aaron?
Usually classical or scores, things like that. Something that just kind of gets you into a rhythm, but you don't start singing along and then you're not working anymore.
Right, yeah. I always joke about this, but I always miss like instrumental music, like when I'm at a restaurant or something like that.
Classical too, same time.
It's just like, you know, I never thought I'd say this, but I'd take elevator music over the hits of the 90s.
Oh God, I can't stand that shit.
Any day, you know?
Yeah. And
now elevator music is the hits of the 90s.
Lol.
Along with classical or film scores is there are certain video games where they actually have full-on composers who compose the music, and they'll go and do like symphonic tours where they have a full symphony playing it, and so some of those soundtracks I'll have playing too.
And I'm sure you have all the John Williams stuff and all that. Danny Elfman, Hans Zimmer.
Clockwork Orange has a great soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Wendy Carlos, who also did the Tron music also.
And a ton of other soundtracks.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Did she do Hooked on Bach?
Switched on Bach.
Switched on Bach, right.
Yes.
I had that record when I was a kid. That was actually one of my favorites.
One of our fabulous trans-Americans.
Yes.
Right? Doing fabulous sci-fi and fantastic film themes. Business.
Themes business.
Like electronic keyboards and such.
Synthesizers.
Paul, got any interesting trivia about the human head?
Did you know the human head weighs 8 pounds?
Well, thank you. That was fascinating, but pointless.
Oh, wow. You got me there.
Yeah, that was exactly what we needed at that moment. Now, when people think of Cinema Insomnia, the music they think of is Stan Fong's song.
Stomping at 3 a.m.
Stan just worked at the TV station. He played jazz. He had some songs that he had written that were original. And that was my favorite. And when he said the name of it was Stomping at 3 a.m., I'm like, well, we're on at 3:05 in the morning. This has got to be our theme song. Yeah, it was Kismet.
And he has that single now for sale online somewhere, doesn't he?
He does. I think it's for download or something for 75 cents. So if you want to own the full song that is the Cinema Insomnia theme, Stomping at 3 a.m., look for Stan Fong.
Footnote number 2. You can find Stan Fong's Stompin' at 3 a.m. at www.soundclick.com.
Probably around 2012, started using the Mars remix of it.
Yeah, that was the 10th anniversary version, and that basically had some sort of Doctor Who-ish kind of affects added. It was still Stan's song, but then there was another layer that Mars Homeworld added to it that kind of brought it up to date.
Well, and I remember it had already been done at some point beforehand, but then when I was putting together the War of the Planets episode, I went and added it still has the old theme and you have this other file in here. So I went ahead and mixed it into it, and you're like, well, that's been on the show for a while. And I went and checked, and it's like, no, it's actually never been used. And so we went so I think it was a year late for the 10th anniversary, but it was recorded for the 10th anniversary.
Oh,
and I think it was even credited in episodes where it wasn't used.
I don't know. We must have gotten mixed up somewhere.
Yeah.
And we were having a lot of trouble. I mean, which is why we brought you in initially to get those episodes edited and put together. Mars also does the theme to the podcast.
Cool.
The theme that you hear, bum 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 bum. So we got a lot out of Mars.
He did the Cinema Insomnia 3000 theme also.
Oh yeah, the Mystery Science Theater parody theme version. We've had a few versions of the theme, right?
Oh yeah. Then there is also the Insomniac Theater version where it was a jazz band.
Live jazz band in Louisiana.
They did 2 versions of it, right?
They did 2 versions. It was
with the funk version.
The funk version that Buddha did for the 70s episodes.
Yeah, and wasn't someone from Parliament involved with that too?
Maybe.
Yeah,
we'll
if I remember,
Buddha
I think like
that.
the bass on it, I think, is one of the guys from Parliament.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Then there was the, for the Return Coming, there was the Twin Peaks version of the theme.
Wow, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Oh, and Stranger Things.
Chris Severn did the Stranger Things version for the episode Paul directed.
Michael Might.
Oh yeah, Michael Might did the. Sorry, not we busted out.
Yeah.
We
used his real name.
Dead named him on the air. We didn't do it to Wendy Carlos, but we did it to Chris. Chris Severn, not Chris Severn. Michael Knight.
Michael Knight. That's Knight Rider.
Which is also a major influence on us.
And then the hyperspace theme
Scott
season.
Moon hyperspace theme, which we did for the 16th anniversary, which is kind of almost like a techno version of the theme. So we've kind of gone through a lot of paces just with our own theme.
Yeah.
Not to mention all of the weird movie music and alterations and weird funny editing that you've done.
Yeah.
Putting music in the movies that what wasn't there originally.
Yeah, like Gamera Super Monster. The ending, which is just very much like a total Superman ripoff of them flying through like space holding the kid's hand, I think. Mm-hmm. And so we took the John Williams Superman theme, threw it in there, fully expecting to get hit with a copyright strike, and they just completely ignored it.
Somehow it's fine. Yeah. That one went, I think that the parody of it is at least communicated. And then I always think of the... I'm hearing growling animals now. Stray and Garbage Cat are at it again.
I'm going to go shuffle them up a little bit.
Can you get this damn cat off of me?
Are you shuffling up the cats?
Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay. There wasn't... Aaron, there is another one that I can...
Well, there's Day of the Triffids with the Howard Keel record. Where a lot of people, when we watch Partied It and stuff like that, think that in the movie Howard Keel that they put on a Howard Keel record
Send
to lure
in the clowns.
and that it's just an ice cream truck sound in the movie. We went through and removed the music from the sound mix and then mixed that in just because we thought it was hilarious.
They finally overcome the Triffids by playing Howard Keel singing "Send in the Clowns." Wonderful. You know what? I think we could probably do a part 2 and talk about music some more with you guys. We're gonna have to probably get back with Paul, but thank you, Dixie. Dixie's already Dixie's got Garbage Cat in her arms right now. She's gonna be putting Baby Cat and Garbage Cat in cat jail. And thank you, Aaron. Oh, the cat! Did you hear the cat hisses?
She's by a mic,
it's getting nasty
probably.
here. We better get out of here before someone gets scratched.
Is that Freedom Rock? Yeah, man. Well, turn it up, man. Lord, I was born a rambling man. People all over the world, everybody, join me. Gonna love free. The ink is black, the taste is white. Turn it down, man. Hey, man, remember the good old days? You know, war, protest. Going to jail. Well, man, we found this new album called Freedom Rock. It's got all those great songs we used to groove to back then. Just listen. I said war. Good God, y'all. Don't you want somebody to love? Maybe I'll be there to shake your hand. Maybe I'll be there to share the land. Making friends for the world to see. To everything. Has it all, man. 40 original rock hits by the original artist. On 4 records, 3 cassettes, or 2 CDs. Here's more. In the white room with black curtains. You see, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. Sunshine go away today.
They clog up the aisles. They don't care about personal space. Some don't wear masks, they're up in my face.
Come on, people now. Man, you should get Freedom Rock too. 4 records or 3 cassettes are only $19.95. 2 CDs, only $24.95.
You're not dreaming. You're listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast. Aaron and I talked a lot about the soundtrack to Cinema Insomnia. It would be cool to put out a Cinema Insomnia soundtrack album. We've had a lot of weird music on the show over the years, parodying music from popular movies and things. You know, I think about all of the movie music that's inspired me. Paul, have you listen to movie music too? You've got a lot of soundtracks in your collection.
A lot of the stuff is instrumental stuff, a lot of orchestration stuff like John Williams and stuff. I mean, one of the oddities in my collection that I had used to inspire me a lot. I've written a lot of scripts to is the soundtrack to Call. Have you ever heard of Call?
Wait, did you say Crow?
No, Call.
Like Call of Cthulhu. Call?
Like Call Your Mom.
Is it like Call or is it like Cull?
No, it's Call.
Oh, it's Cull. Cull.
Call.
Call.
Yeah, Call.
Yes, Cull.
Call. Yes.
Yeah, Cull. I'm hearing you. Cull.
Call. Like Call the Conqueror.
Call the Conqueror. Yes, the movie. Call the Conqueror. Wow.
The next step up, the one that's supposed to replace Conan the Barbarian. It's supposed to be Call the Conqueror.
Yes.
With Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah, after you've endured Conan and maybe Lou Ferrigno's Hercules and possibly Red Sonja, you might be ready. Maybe after Krull and a couple of and you're the hunter from the future and Ator, then you might be ready for Kull the Conqueror.
Nobody's ready for Kull the Conqueror. That movie sucks. Horrible movie.
But somehow that music gets you, right?
Yes.
So you write to that music, and what's so special about the music? I mean, other than its orchestra, what is so special about the music from Kull?
It's I mean, music today is probably a little bit closer to what it was, but back then this is probably unique, or was unique sounding to me, was that it was orchestration mixed in with like metal guitar, mixed in with trap sets. So it was all this orchestration, but with like a metal sound to it. And I found that very inspiring to writing.
Greetings, this is Mr. Lobo from the future. In this space would have been for pure entertainment and funny purposes. However, it has been found by the High Council for Human Consumption that the artists from the Sleepless Knights are bankrupting the original copyright holder of We're so sorry to the High Council for Human Consumption. May we praise you for keeping the public safe, our bad for trying to pull a fast one. You caught us, and we have removed so we can place our show back onto the airwaves. Thank you for your patience. Back to the show.
Wow, that is interesting. So Call the Conqueror, the soundtrack. So avoid the movie.
Yeah.
Check out the soundtrack. This is what Paul is writing his epic scenes to.
Yeah, by Joel Goldsmith.
Joel Goldsmith, not Jerry Goldsmith.
Not Jerry, no, the son of Jerry.
Oh wow. So this is like the poor man's Jerry Goldsmith is his son. Can you imagine trying to live that down?
Well, he's dead now, but yeah.
I guess they're both dead.
Yeah.
That's too bad. Well, because Jerry Goldsmith did Star Trek the Motion Picture and The Omen and Gremlins and I'm trying to think of some other Jerry Goldsmith huge Rambo, huge movies.
Yeah, and this guy did Man with Two Brains and Kull the Conqueror.
Well, I love Man with Two Brains, so that's awesome.
He's also done the Stargate TV series. He's done a lot of like the B-line movies.
Yeah, he's one of us. He's on the B side of things. I like that. That is awesome.
You know, let's move on from this topic because it's just dead. Let's how about concerts? Have you ever been to a concert? Does Mr. Lobo go to concerts?
Mr. Lobo does go to concerts. Dixie and I sometimes go to concerts. We actually saw Gary Newman and Adam Ant and a lot of people recently. But the first concert I ever went to was Styx. Kilroy was here. The Mr. Roboto tour, actually. And that kind of like was an interesting thing for a first real, and I say real concert as just this is like something that I wasn't going with it wasn't with my family or anything like that. This was like a band that I wanted to see with my friends, and I went to go see this concert. I love the song, Mr. Roboto. And the problem that was created for me is that this concert was almost like a movie. They had like a 20-minute film with like the production level of Blade Runner to start you off before the concert starts. And there's like spaceships and robots and this whole story about Kilroy and how he's revolting against this dystopian future. And then the rest of the story of that little movie plays out on stage, and all of the songs sort of fit into that story. So it was almost like a rock opera, and it kind of ruined me for other bands and other music because, you go to like a dirty nightclub in a smoke-filled room and there's like 4 guys in T-shirts and leather jackets that, standing on stage, avoiding eye contact. And it's like, well, where are the robots? Where are the lasers? Where's the rock opera? It kind of sort of spoiled me right off the bat for seeing live music. And I think that's why I've always kind of gravitated towards more theatrical bands like Devo and stuff like that, where there's costume changes and there's kind of a audio visual stuff. There's things on a screen behind them or whatever.
It's kind of weird that kind of ruined you. My first concert was the Monkees, and from there on out, every concert I've been to is like, where's Mike Nesmith?
Because he wasn't there.
No, he wasn't at that one either, because this was back in the 90s. He didn't sing with the band then. Does he even sing with them now?
I think he does now. Now that most of them are dead, I think, it's like Mike Nesmith and 3 robots now.
Mike Nesmith and Mickey Dolenz, and that's it.
And that's it. And I think it's like Kraftwerk, though. I think 2 of them are androids now.
I mean, it's kind of weird is that, the Monkees thing was kind of just a fad at that time. It was just something that, it was on Nick at Night and everything. And that was just something I was into then. But
you don't have to be embarrassed about the Monkey. Everybody loves the Monkees. Everyone goes through their Monkees phase where they want to hear I'm a Believer and Last Train to Clarksville. Go ahead.
Now, I already did my singing at the top of the show. I'm done singing for this. I mean, it's odd that you say that you like things with theatrics. Have you seen like the Blue Man Group?
I have never seen them in person, but it's like that's the kind of thing where they like it's different guys all the time, right? They just train a new troupe of people to do that show.
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, they have a stage show, which is different from their touring show. And the touring show is actually more music-based. They play music and songs and stuff. And I believe that they, at one time, I think that there was different people, depending on which part of the coast they were on, that they had different people portraying the Blue Men themselves. But they always had things up on the stage and stuff. Their whole thing was teaching you how to be a fan at a rock concert, how to enjoy a rock concert, and how to be a musician and everything else. That was kind of their shtick with all that stuff. Now, this was more so with the kids. Now, we saw Pentatonics, and this is still another kind of niche.
Hold on. Now, what is Pentatonics?
I mean, that's kind of one of those, they're a cappella. They all kind of sing their parts. There's no instrumentation.
Like that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the concert, and I'm like, where's Bobby McFerrin? And Mike Nesmith. I'm the only one doing that. Everybody's staring at me. It just felt so awkward.
And then Bobby McFerrin and Mike Nesmith are at a bar somewhere having a good laugh.
And did you hear that? Somebody's calling for us. What the? But they were on tour with Kelly Clarkson, which is a little bit more mainstream. But that was my kids thing. That wasn't really.
Now, who's Kelly Clarkson? I feel like I don't know any of this stuff.
I don't know. She's on the dial of the radio station that I don't listen to. It's not metal enough for me. So
all right.
But if you heard her, if you heard songs,
I've heard songs. Yeah. I know about songs.
Yeah. But if you heard something specifically from her, you'd be like, oh yeah, I heard that at a Cialis commercial. Yeah, I know what that is. Or
I was at a Wawa and I heard that while I was ordering a sandwich.
I was in the bathroom and yeah.
And Kelly Clarkson was there, and Mike Nesmith.
And Bobby McFerrin. We're all at the same Wawa. I believe that's a setup for a joke. But I guess the first real concert was supposed to be this summer. One of my favorite bands was Green Day. The whole family, was going to take the kids and everybody to go see it. It was their Christmas present last year. And, Green Day was the main one that we wanted to see. It's the Super Hella Mega Tour. But it was Green Day, Weezer, and Fall Out Boy were supposed to be there. But they all got
Can you imagine the douche quotient at that show?
Well, I know there's I know there's myself, and then you multiply it by, and then you subtract it by Mike Nesmith, divide it by Bobby McFerrin.
Douche magnet.
Yes. Thanks for calling me a douche, by the way. I'll remember that later on in this segment. But they ended up canceling the concert this summer because of an extreme case of chronic diarrhea. I mean, 3 bands get chronic diarrhea and they canceled it, and I'm just out of the cash for the show, I guess, or whatever. But,
well, hopefully they'll refund you, or maybe they'll all perform again once all the chronic diarrhea is cleared out. Who's someone that you have seen in concert that is theatrical, that has a lot of costume changes and stuff like that?
Weird Al happens to do a lot of costume changes. You know how he looks now with the sort of longer hair, no mustache.
He kind of looks like my friend Scott Moon, but yeah, it's weird. Like no mustache and the flatter hair kind of puts me off because he looked so iconic for so long.
And when he goes and he sings his songs, when he goes back in his library, he actually goes back to those looks. When he's singing something from the earlier books, he's got a wig on. He's got the mustache. He's got the glasses. He's got the Hawaiian shirt.
Wow! See, I did not know that. So he puts the mustache on for the concerts in certain songs.
Either that or his twin brother comes out because he does fat. He does fat in the fat suit. He does Amish Paradise with the braided hair, the cornrows, and wearing the Amish.
So you're saying he may have a twin brother like Gallagher?
They might be like quadtuplets or something like that, where they all kind of come out and
then they dress up as the Blue Man Group and tour, right? Is that what happens? They split up as the Blue Man Group.
I guess
at certain times.
That's what happens when the Weird Al tour ends and the Blue Man Group tour begins. They just go to the Blue Man Group tour.
So I've never seen Weird Al in concert. So where did you see Weird Al?
I saw them twice. One up here at Bloomsburg Fair, but the first time down in sunny Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Oh, right over here in God's own country?
Right up in your own neck of woods. It was also one of those things where Amish Paradise had just come out. And it was one of those things. I think he announces that right before the concert, where he's like, I'm sorry, I apologize to any Amish that are in the crowd, but if any of you are offended, I'm not quite sure how you heard this song to begin with. But yeah, we got to see him there, and that was back when I was a broke college student.
Now you're a broke adult.
Now I'm a broke adult. I've aspired so little, but. When we were there, they had a VIP signing where, if you had the VIP tickets, you could go back and you could do a meet and greet with him and stuff. And we just kind of hung out. We're just like, we'll just hedge our chances and see what happens. And we're not the only ones that are doing it. Other people are doing it. And it gets to a point where the people that are running the venue, they're trying to dismiss us. They're trying to get us out of there. They're trying anything they can, but they're seeing that we're not leaving. And eventually they kind of come out there and they're like, okay, here's how it works. Anybody that's VIP, you have to let them to the front of the line. You have to let them in front of you. Mm-hmm. We will do non-VIP, but it's first come, first serve. He will see you, but if he has to leave, there's no guarantees that you'll actually see him. So
that's just it. He's got to go, and whoever's left over, too bad.
And honestly, he doesn't have to do that at all. I mean, it's kind of awesome that he'd do that to begin with.
Yeah, that he would just stay there and see everybody if he could.
And we were all kind of standing in line. Like I said, I was a poor student, college student at the time, and there was one of the things that I wanted to buy at his booth that I wanted to get autographed was a music book. It was all of his songs written for piano. And I thought that would have been really cool to have autographed, but couldn't afford it. So it just led into a joke where we were all standing around and we were like, what's the weirdest thing that you can ask a celebrity like Weird Al that if you were to ever run into him later in life and you said this thing, he would remember you? And everybody was saying like there are different things. Right. They would say this, that.
Hold my iguana.
Yeah,
that's not peanut butter.
Yeah, that's not chocolate. And it came around to me, and I thought about it for a while, and I'm like, it would be funny if I just came up if I asked him, and was like, if I write you a personal check, can you cash it so I can go buy something out at your booth?
Which was you probably would have bought something at his booth.
I probably
if you would allow that. Yeah.
But it was a joke. It was like, I didn't expect him to do it. And everybody was in it. That was actually probably voted the most popular because it's like, you go and you run into him, say Hershey Park or something like that. And you say, hey, can you cash a check? He may remember that.
He would like, oh, you're that guy.
Yeah. Well, can you still cash a check? We kind of get up there, and I don't have anything to autograph, but my friend he happened to have 2 CDs with him, so he gives me one of his CDs, and so I get one CD autographed, and he gets the other one autographed. And we get up there, and it's getting to 0 hour, and it's like, we were doing this as a joke. We weren't being serious about this. What have I got to lose? I might as well just do it, right? So I get up there and I ask him, I'm like, so I got a question for you. If I write you out a check, could you cash it in so I can go buy something at your booth? I saw some really nice stuff up there I'd really like to have. And everything just shut down. He stopped autographing. He looks up, he just stares at me like, what was I just asked? He's just looking at me dumbfounded. And there's just this moment of silence on his end. On our end, we're all laughing our asses off because everybody around me heard us making that joke. So they're all in on that joke and they're laughing. And he just sits staring at me. I think he's like sizing me up. Like, is this guy for real? Like, is he really asking me this?
Yeah.
And finally he goes, no, I'm currently tapped out. And that was kind of his reply. We all had a laugh. And I didn't know that one of my other friends that was at the concert with us, they had bought me that book.
Oh, you got the music book. Now, these aren't other people's songs. These are his originals that are in this book.
These are his songs. I think that they had like Fat and Amish Paradise. And
oh, okay.
They had given me this book afterwards. And it actually became instrumental that summer. Because when I went to college that summer, I had to try out for band. So you have to try out for your seat. And everybody, I play in the tuba section, so everybody they have John Philip Sousa, so all these orchestrations that are built for tuba, and I'm just like that. I'm probably gonna play just a scale or something to get in.
Yeah,
it's like I have no clue what I'm gonna play to try out and stuff. And I had this music book, and I'm sitting there and I'm flipping through it, and I flipped to Harvey the Wonder Hamster, a song that I've heard on Dr. Demento's show.
Yes,
and I'm sitting by a piano, and I'm just trying to piece together how to play the piano. I mean, I used to play it, but it's been such a long time. So I'm piecing it together and I'm playing it on the piano and I'm listening to the tune. I used to do this thing where if I heard a piece of music a few times, I'd be able to actually parrot it back. I could play it back. So I could do the transposing fairly easily. And I thought, what the hell? I don't have any sheet music. You have to try out. So, I transposed the song. I wrote out lyric sheets. I handed out the lyric sheets to the judges. They all had a laugh because here's Weird Al. Who the hell's trying out for Weird Al? And it's like, here you got to sing along. And I'm playing Harvey the Wonder Hamster for a tryout. The judges on the tuba. The judges are actually singing because they're all weird. Like they're from the low brass section. They're all just as weird as me.
Yeah.
So they're singing. They're laughing. I'm playing like crap because I'm laughing. Right. But at the end of the day, I ended up getting a placement. But I think the placement was that it was a placement because it was outside the box. It was something that kind of got transposed and got used for humor purposes. And it didn't really matter. Like I had nothing, so it didn't really matter. I wasn't guaranteed a seat anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just a long ass story to kind of come around where it's like, I'm inspired by Weird Al. I have a chance meeting with Weird Al. I get this thing that ends up being a part of art that comes back around and gets to be used into another segment that actually segues into another branch of creativity, not to bring the house down, but the songbook ultimately ended up getting lost that year. Our apartments got struck by lightning and the apartments burned down. But there's so many happy memories tied to it. There's just that whole clump of
I feel like we need to have it. I think we need to put that on the Amazon wish list for Paul is the Weird Al Yankovic songbook.
But then it has to be autographed by Weird Al and maybe made out to where the fuck is Mike Nesmith? Maybe it's written out, yes, I will cash your check. You know.
Yes, I will. I'm going to cash this check so you can buy this songbook. The end. It's really interesting how much we've talked about Weird Al, because when people think of good music, that he's not the first person that you think of typically. But he definitely, I think, has inspired a lot of people, and he's outlasted so many of the people that he was making fun of, you know.
Right.
Which is a testament to his own personal talent. And his original songs are really good. And I think that, you know, hearing him on Dr. Demento as a kid, I mean, you know, hearing Devo on Dr. Demento as a kid, I never thought I would, I mean, I never met Weird Al. But I also heard the Archies on Dr. Demento, and I never thought I'd meet those guys. You know, and I ended up writing a song with Ron Dante of the Archies for Cinema Insomnia.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that's right. So, you know, it's like, it's an interesting thing where, you know, you go back and you have your influences, they influence you, and then somehow it comes around to where you end up making something that might be influential to someone else. You know, you're always taking something out of that pool, and then, you rarely get that opportunity to put something back in that pool. You know, when I heard Dr. Demento, I never thought I'd have a song on Dr. Demento, and the song that we made for the show, I'm Watching TV, actually ended up on Dr. Demento.
Oh, wow.
So one of the things how did I look back at it, it's like, how did this even happen? And the way that it happened was, you know, I had a TV show, which was Cinema Insomnia. Scott Moon and I, who oddly looks like Weird Al Yankovic, had this idea of doing a parody of the Banana Splits, and also doing kind of an homage to Saturday morning cartoon music.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, we couldn't figure out how we could get that sound, that kind of early 70s bubblegum pop sound. And by a strange act of chance or fate, one of our biggest fans was also Ron Dante's webmaster. He was also Svengooli's webmaster at the time. But somehow, some way, Ron Dante of the Archies, who sang Sugar Sugar, which was a song the Monkees turned down, by the way, a #1 hit turned down by the Monkees.
Lol.
So, Paul, nobody says, it's LOL, never mind. So, now, you shouldn't even say LOL either. You should actually laugh out loud. Never mind. Anyway,
Yep.
So we have this situation where I get a CD in the mail, full of 50s, 60s music, sung by Ron Dante, Mr. Bubblegum Pop himself. And he said, look, I love monster movies. I caught Cinema Insomnia. I think it's a great show. If you ever need anything, let me know. And Scott and I thought, this is our chance to do our bubblegum pop Saturday morning cartoon theme. You know, this is the guy. He did the original Reese's Peanut Butter Cups theme. In every Hanna-Barbera cartoon where a bunch of teenagers get chased by a mummy, it's one of his songs that jumps in there. You know, not only was he in the Archies, he was the 1910 Fruit Gum Company and all this stuff. You know, he's the guy. He's the guy you hear in a lot of those 70s things. I had a Spider-Man record, a Spider-Man rock opera when I was a kid called Beyond the Grave, where it was Spider-Man and Doctor Strange versus the Kingpin. And this album had a band on it called the Web Slingers. And I played that album so much that I wore the grooves off of it. It would just go whoop, when you put the needle on it. And Ron Dante was the Web Slingers. He was that group. He played guitar, he sang. That was him on that album.
I disagree, but go on.
That's an odd response. Anyway, so you know, here you have a person who you admired, you loved their stuff when you were a kid, and then they contact you. We played them a scratch track of our song, and he said, yes, I'm going to help you produce this. And he sang on it and played guitar on it. And it was like having the Archies perform your song. And we wrote it into our 2005 Halloween special. And it ended up being played on Dr. Demento. And I actually got to, you know, hear my song, the thing I made, actually come out. And then I got to talk to Dr. Demento.
Oh, wow.
and then
wow.
Wait a second, Paul.
Oh, wow.
Is this your stock response? How long have you been gone, you son of a bitch?
No, I'm not going to put on pants. You put on pants.
Damn it. Well, I don't know how long Paul's been gone, but who cares? I guess I'm gonna stop talking to myself.
Oh, wow, you got me there.
You have been listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast, or should we say, pODDcast. Emphasis on the odd. Our theme is by Mars Homeworld at Deadhouse Music. Our opening announcement is by Ophelia Necro. She does a radio show called Suicide Watch. And you could reach Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com or find me on YouTube, YouTube/Mr. Lobo, MisterLobo. Mr. Lobo on Facebook, Facebook/Mr.Lobo, or on Twitter, at Mr. Lobo, MisterLobo.
Or you can find myself, Paul Sanders, or better known as Bestow TV, at Bestow.tv, on YouTube /Bestow TV, on Twitter at Bestow Prod, Prod, and on Facebook, Bestow TV.
If you want to place an advertisement with this podcast, and gosh, why wouldn't you? We could be talking about you right now. Contact us, Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com. That's MrLobo @CinemaInsomnia.com. Or support us on Patreon. Patreon supporters get to hear this podcast before anyone else and a lot of other great stuff, right, Paul?
Sure.
Doesn't get it better than that, right? So come join the fun at
patreon.com/Sleepless Knights podcast.
That's
patreon.com/Sleepless Knights podcast.
Please stay up with us next week for another Sleepless Knights podcast. Or should we say, pODDcast. The best thing about being an insomniac is never having to say goodnight.
Good night. Oh, wow.